I log on to YouTube these days and I just notice what I think is the unhealthy way we deal with controversy and disagreement. Now look, don't get me wrong, disagreement is useful. I think it's great that we have opportunity to challenge one another's thinking. I think it helps us hone our thoughts and opinions, and I think it helps us all ultimately get closer to the truth, whatever that truth is. But I notice more and more that when we're talking disagreement, when we're talking controversy, we are more interested in tearing each other down than we are actually listening to different opinions. In actual fact, we use the controversy to prop up our own thinking and opinions rather than taking our own thinking and examining that very carefully. Now, you only have to look at the thumbnails that crop up when you log on to YouTube and you'll see what I mean. And perhaps it's the fact that I am working particularly within a religious setting that I see this more and more. We don't listen to our opponents. We don't listen to other people's opinions. We caricature them and we use them as a way of inflating our own egos. Look, I want to say again, I don't think disagreement in itself is the problem. I think it needs to continue. I think we all need to have the opportunity to express our thoughts and opinions openly and honestly. I think the issue is how we deal with one another as we do that. And this for me is one of the reasons why I really respond affirmatively to everything that Swedenborg wrote. Anyone who has charity loves the neighbour, and when the latter differs from him in matters of belief, he thinks nothing of it, provided he leads a life that is good and true. I'm sure most of you are aware of the story of Noah and the Great Flood, but I wonder if you're aware of what happens after the flood has taken place. There's this great little story of Noah coming out of the ark and planting himself a vineyard and getting drunk. One of his sons goes into the tent and sees Noah lying there naked and drunk and goes and tells his brothers. In commenting on that story, Swedenborg wrote this: "Those who have charity hardly notice the evil in another person, but instead notice all the goods and truths that are his, and on his evils and falsities they place a good interpretation. Of such a nature are all angels, it being something they have from the Lord, who bends everything evil into good." And I just read something like that and I think, how different is that from the way we conduct ourselves in this world? I think about the religious and spiritual arena in which I work. I think about the politics that we see taking place in our world. Imagine if we were able to, instead of spending our time attacking one another, instead of spending our time looking for all the things that another person does wrong, instead of spending our time misinterpreting the good that someone else does, imagine if we were able to look at one another appreciating the value and the good that they bring into my life. Imagine if we were able to look at one another offering each other a different opinion and recognizing its value. Now, I realise not everybody's going to do this. There are still going to be people in the world who are going to be critical. But I think to live in this sort of way brings oneself a sense of peace and contentment that is priceless. Look, I have to admit, I certainly do not always get this right. I don't respond to those I perceive as criticising me in the way that I should. But this is an ideal I aspire to. And I think if we're able together to aspire to it and deal with one another with a fair degree of forgiveness when we get it wrong, I think this world becomes a better place.